Jiwoo gave birth in a hospital bed. It was a miracle. She had been fighting for her life. But the second that baby took its first breath, everything changed. Her so-called best friend, Solrim, was waiting. She snatched the newborn right out of the room, and she claimed the child as her very own. That baby was her golden ticket. Solrim used him to marry the baby's real father, a wealthy heir named Yu Kang-woo. She stole his name. She stole his fortune. She climbed straight into high society on a lie. A mansion, a fortune, a title, all built on a stolen baby. And Jiwoo? She was left behind in the dark, forgotten, erased, as good as dead. 5 long years passed. Jiwoo lay trapped in a deep coma, and when she finally woke up, her mind was a blank page. She didn't remember the man she loved. She didn't remember giving birth. She didn't even remember her own child. Once a respected, wealthy young lady, now she had nothing. No family she could remember, no money, no home. She took a job as a delivery girl for a tiny restaurant. Long hours, tiny pay, a quiet, invisible life. And she had no idea who had erased her entire life. Then, one ordinary day, an eccentric old man shuffled in. His clothes were shabby. His manners were strange. When the bill came, he dumped out a pile of loose change. Jiwoo counted it carefully. He was still short by 1,000 won. She figured he just didn't have enough on him, so she didn't demand the difference. She quietly slipped in 1,000 won of her own, and she let it go with a smile. The old man couldn't believe it. A girl this kind, still alive in this world? But before he left, Jiwoo chased him down. She handed him a jar of her homemade dried radishes. She just wanted to do what little good she could, she said. She had nothing herself, yet she gave anyway. The old man's heart melted. In a world full of greed, he had found something pure. And here's what Jiwoo didn't know. This shabby old man was Chairman Yu Man-ho, a billionaire worth hundreds of millions. That single act of kindness was about to rewrite her destiny. Back at his grand mansion, the servants laid out dozens of lavish dishes. But the billionaire had no appetite. He only wanted those humble dried radishes. But his daughter-in-law, Chae So-rim, stepped in. She had already thrown the radishes in the trash. She called them unworthy of their fine table. When the chairman heard this, he exploded. He severely scolded his arrogant daughter-in-law. He only held back for the sake of his grandson. But what the old man didn't know was staggering. That kind delivery girl who gave him radishes? She was the real biological mother of his grandson. The child living inside his very own mansion. The boy he loved more than his own life. 2 strangers bound by blood and lies. Neither of them knew it yet. Fate had quietly begun to turn its wheel, and nothing would ever be the same again. The next day, the chairman returned to that restaurant. He brought his son, Kang-woo, hoping to find the girl. But Jiwoo was off shift that day. Disappointed, the chairman left feeling downcast, and on his way back, his body suddenly betrayed him. He felt a deep, crushing pain. You see, the chairman had a terrible secret. He had terminal cancer, and he hid it from his family. He dragged his aching body into a quiet alley. And just as he was about to collapse, fate intervened. Jiwoo happened to be passing by. She rushed over and held him up. She gave him his medicine and hailed him a taxi. Then she quietly slipped away, expecting nothing. No reward, no thanks. She just wanted him safe. The chairman watched her vanish into the crowd, and something inside his cold, old heart cracked open. The chairman was moved beyond words. Twice now, this girl had saved him, and twice she had asked for nothing in return. In his whole empire, no one had ever been this kind. Not his family, not his staff, no one. Meanwhile, Jiwoo was desperate to recover her memories. She heard the powerful Il-song group was hiring staff. The chairman's daughter-in-law's name sounded oddly familiar, so she applied. But her lack of education got her cut in the first round. As she left, she bumped into a maid, An expensive pot of soup spilled everywhere. The commotion reached the chairman himself. He ordered the maid to bring this girl to him. Jiwoo entered his study with her head bowed in fear. She had no idea this billionaire was the same kind old man, the one she had helped again and again. And the chairman recognized her goodness instantly. He offered her a huge salary to become his personal full-time caretaker. It felt like a miracle, a way out of poverty, finally, a chance to rebuild her broken life. She accepted on the spot, with tears in her eyes. But Jiwoo had just walked into the lion's den, the one place she should never have entered, the home of the very woman who erased her. On her very first day, it happened. A little boy suddenly appeared before her, and the instant she saw him, her heart ached. An overwhelming sense of closeness washed over her. She felt connected to this child, but she had no idea why. Then the boy's mother rushed over. When Jiwoo turned around, Solrim saw her face, and she froze in absolute horror. The woman she thought she had destroyed was alive, and standing right inside her own home, because that little boy was Jiwoo's stolen son, and Solrim was terrified of one thing, that Jiwoo would expose every horrific crime she had committed. But Jiwoo still had amnesia, so she warmly, innocently greeted Solrim, never knowing she was smiling at the woman who destroyed her. Solrim couldn't risk it. She acted fast. She shoved Jiwoo into her car and drove her 10 kilometers away from the estate. She handed her a termination letter. Coldly, she announced that Jiwoo was fired. Jiwoo was poor. She had no power to fight back. No money, no family, no proof of anything. Her hands trembled as she read the letter, but she swallowed her tears and stayed silent. So she took her severance and walked away. Once again, the kind one was the one who lost, and the cruel one walked away smiling. Then Solrim lied straight to the chairman. She claimed Jiwoo had simply abandoned her post. The news shattered the old man's heart. That very night, the chairman collapsed. In his desperation, he called Jiwoo. She rushed through the night to his side. She stayed until his condition finally stabilized. And just as she turned to leave, the door opened. A heavily drunk Yu Kang-woo stumbled in. He saw Jiwoo and he completely froze. Their eyes locked, his gaze filled with profound, aching tenderness. A familiar name escaped his lips. His first love. The woman he believed had died years ago. He thought he was dreaming. Years before, he had seen her body in the morgue. But just as he stepped forward, Seo Rim rushed in. Without a word, she dragged the bewildered Jiwoo away, leaving the drunken Kang-woo helpless and stumbling. Seo Rim gaslit her husband completely. She insisted he was just drunk and confused. Then she stormed to Jiwoo's house. She slapped her hard across the face and warned her to never come near the mansion again. But this time, Jiwoo refused to run. She was done being a victim. Something deep inside her had finally snapped awake. She handed that termination letter right back. She declared she was returning to care for the chairman until she recovered every last memory. Watching her defy her so fearlessly, Seo Rim seethed. Her perfect little world was starting to crack. She swore to make this girl suffer for it. Whatever it took, she would bury her again. Back at the mansion, Jiwoo flourished. The chairman adored her more every single day. He even trusted her to deliver documents to his son. So Seo Rim changed tactics. She started planting poison. She framed Jiwoo with staged scandalous photos. She forged a letter calling her a corporate spy. But the chairman didn't fire her at all, and that left Seo Rim absolutely furious. Meanwhile, that little boy adored his caretaker. One day he saw her clutching a bruised face. He took her hand, deeply worried. Moved by his care, Jiwoo knelt to comfort him. She gently lied that dust had gotten in her eyes. They looked exactly like mother and son. And that closeness terrified Seo Rim. A mother always knows her own child. And this bond could destroy everything she stole. She tore the boy away from Jiwoo's arms. Then she whispered venomous lies about the caretaker into his ears. But the bond between them was too strong to break. Blood always finds its way home. So Solrim tried a new mask. The grieving wife. She painted herself as a neglected victim and cast Jiwoo as the cruel homewrecker. Jiwoo, with no memory, began to doubt herself. She grew to loathe herself. So she decided to resign, to stop tearing a family apart. But then Kang-woo appeared and threw his arms around her. He poured his heart out with words of love. It was too much. Jiwoo fainted from the shock. At the hospital, the doctor revealed the truth. Total amnesia from a severe past car accident. The woman Kang-woo had mourned was alive. Living right under his own roof. He vowed to never let her vanish again. But what he didn't know was the cruelest twist of all. The child Solrim kept weaponizing against him. That boy shared none of his blood. The real father was someone else entirely. Devastated, Kang-woo threw divorce papers at Solrim. 5 years of lies had finally caught up with her. But the power-hungry woman refused. She had clawed too far to lose it all now. She threatened to take the scandal to the media. She vowed to drag Jiwoo's name through the mud. Then she tore the divorce papers to shreds in his face. To protect Jiwoo from the press, Kang-woo backed down, but he wasn't giving up. He started digging. A memory fragment surfaced in Jiwoo's mind. A mysterious man with a tattoo on his neck. Kang-woo recognized the description instantly. The man with the neck tattoo was Solrim's personal driver. Kang-woo sped to the estate to confront his wife, but at the gates, he froze. He saw Solrim and the driver in an intimate argument. His husband's intuition screamed at him. These two shared a dark, unspeakable secret. The tattoo on the driver matched a mark on Solrim's back. For 5 years, his marriage had been a total sham, so he asked his brother-in-law to investigate them. But there was a snake in the grass. The corrupt brother-in-law, Director Byeon, was behind everything. Years ago, he masterminded Solrim's entire rise. His price? Help him swallow the Ilsong Empire whole. And Byeon intercepted Kang-woo's every move, every question, every lead, every test. He sabotaged the investigation with bribes and lies. He buried evidence and silenced witnesses. He was always one cruel step ahead. The web of deceit was tightening around everyone. Then one evening, Jiwoo gave the little boy his bath, and on the sole of his foot she saw it, a birthmark, identical to her own. This boy was the very infant she had birthed, but she still couldn't piece it together. Soon after, a school accident struck. The little boy fell from a playground slide. Jiwoo scooped him up and sprinted to the hospital. She lost her shoes running through traffic. As his guardian, she authorized the emergency surgery. She saved her own son without even knowing it. When Solrim arrived, she slapped Jiwoo for daring to act like the boy's mother. Then a nurse called out for the patient's mother. Jiwoo turned by reflex. She took a step forward. Then she froze. Solrim was the legal mother, not her. She watched the family of 3 drive away without her. Her own child, her own flesh and blood, driven away by the woman who stole him. A bitter loneliness filled her chest. She stood alone in the cold hospital hallway. But that hospital held a secret. A veteran nurse recognized Jiwoo in the corridor, but she called her by the wrong name, Chae So-rin. To hide her crimes, the villain had stolen her dead friend's identity. She admitted Jiwoo into the coma ward under that name. Jiwoo was bewildered. So-rin was her dead best friend. She searched her old belongings, but found no photos. So she called her old classmates, and one revealed something startling. So-rin had vanished without a trace years ago. Then fate struck on a busy street. Jiwoo's classmate came face to face with the real So-rim. She recognized her instantly, and So-rim fled. The classmate rushed to Jiwoo with a corporate magazine. The prestigious daughter-in-law of the Il-song Empire? It was undeniably their old high school friend. The pieces finally snapped into place. Jiwoo had carried Kangwoo's child and given birth hidden under her best friend's name. So she secretly arranged a reunion with Kangwoo. After 5 years of darkness and lies, they met again. Two broken hearts, finally reaching for each other. For one moment, it felt like the nightmare was ending. For one breath, they dared to hope. But their beautiful reunion was cut tragically short. Solrim had been tracking her husband. She arrived at the secluded mountainside moments later, and so had Jiwoo's adoptive mother. The mother recognized the deceitful girl instantly. In a flash of panic, Solrim shoved her off the cliff. A scream tore through the silent forest. Jiwoo found her mother's broken body in the ravine. With her dying breath, the mother whispered the truth. The woman before her was Solrim, her destroyer. The trauma shattered the wall in Jiwoo's mind. When she woke, every memory came flooding back. The innocent girl was gone. In her eyes burned a single purpose: revenge. Every line of her tragic fate pointed to one person, Solrim, and she swore a silent blood oath to make her pay. But one wound still bled. Her son was missing. The aunt confessed she had taken the baby years ago, and no one knew where the child was now. A mother who didn't even know if her child was alive. Jiwoo has her memories. She has her rage. She finally knows exactly who destroyed her life. But the real revenge hasn't even begun. If your heart is pounding, you need part 2. So like, subscribe, and drop a heart right now. Part 2 is where Jiwoo finally fights back. Don't miss it. The moment her baby was born, her best friend stole it. Not just the baby, her husband, her name, her memories, everything. This is the story of a woman who lost it all. She fell asleep a wealthy heiress. She woke up 5 years later with nothing. No memory, no money, no idea who destroyed her. But one tiny act of kindness was about to change everything. A single bowl of soup, a handful of coins. That was all it took to flip her fate. A stolen child, a buried secret, and a revenge years in the making. This woman trusted the wrong person, and that one mistake cost her everything: her son, her love, her entire life. So stay with me till the very end, because the final twist will break your heart, and the last 60 seconds will leave you speechless. Let's begin.